Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
616. So we're going to discuss a verse today and tomorrow from the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam. Today we're doing chapter 6, canto 6, chapter 1, text 6. How many of you have the Bhagavatam in your pocket? Oh, okay, yes.
661.
These days, it's not necessary to write the words on the board. Virtually everybody has the Bhagavatam in their pocket. Who could visualize the day would come and you could carry all the Prabhupada's books in your pocket? Adhuneha mahā-bhāga yathaiva narakān nānā nānogra-yātanān neyāt vyākhyātum arhasi adhuneha mahā-bhāga 616 yathaiva narakān nānogra-yātanān neyāt vyākhyātum arhasi adhuneha mahā-bhāga yathaiva narakān nānogra.
Text 106. Many are asking.
Nānogra-yātanān neyāt. Okay, again. Adhuneha mahā-bhāga yathaiva narakān nānogra-yātanān neyāt vyākhyātum arhasi adhuneha mahā-bhāga yathaiva narakān nānogra-yātanān neyāt vyākhyātum arhasi
Adhuneha mahā-bhāga yathaiva narakān nānogra-yātanān neyāt vyākhyātum arhasi
Adhuneha mahā-bhāga.
Adhuneha mahā-bhāga
Yathaiva narakān
yathaiva
nānogra-yātanān neyāt
nānogra-yātanān neyāt
vyākhyātum arhasi
vyākhyātum arhasi
Adhuneha mahā-bhāga.
adhuneha mahā-bhāga
Yathaiva narakān naraḥ
yathaiva narakān
nānogra-yātanān neyāt
nānogra-yātanān neyāt
vyākhyātum arhasi
vyākhyātum arhasi.
Anybody else?
Mataji.
No men, no.
Adhuneha mahā-bhāga
Adhuneha mahā-bhāga
yathaiva narakān
yathaiva narakān
nānogra-yātanān
nānogra-yātanān neyāt
vyākhyātum arhasi
vyākhyātum arhasi
Adhuneha mahā-bhāga
adhuneha mahā-bhāga
yathaiva narakān
yathaiva narakān naraḥ.
nānogra-yātanān neyāt.
nānogra-yātanān
vyākhyātum arhasi.
arhasi.
adhuneha mahā-bhāga.
adhuneha mahā-bhāga. yathaiva narakān naraḥ. nānogra-yātanān neyāt. vyākhyātum arhasi. adhuneha mahā-bhāga.
You'll read.
yathaiva narakān naraḥ.
What meaning?
nānogra-yātanān neyāt. vyākhyātum arhasi.
Mataji's.
adhuneha mahā-bhāga. yathaiva narakān naraḥ. nānogra-yātanān neyāt. vyākhyātum arhasi. adhuneha mahā-bhāga. yathaiva narakān naraḥ. nānogra-yātanān. vyākhyātum arhasi.
Anybody else?
adhuneha mahā-bhāga. yathaiva narakān naraḥ. nānogra-yātanān neyāt. vyākhyātum arhasi.
Word for word meaning. Adhunā.
Anybody else?
Anybody else? Anybody else?
You try. And then mother, you all want to try.
adhuneha mahā-bhāga. yathaiva narakān naraḥ. nānogra-yātanān neyāt. vyākhyātum arhasi. adhuneha mahā-bhāga. yathaiva narakān naraḥ. nānogra-yātanān neyāt. vyākhyātum arhasi.
Word meaning.
Adhunā.
adhunā.
Right now.
right now.
Īyāt. In this material world.
in this material world.
mahā-bhāga.
mahā-bhāga.
O great, opulent, and fortunate Śukadeva Gosvāmī.
O great, opulent, and fortunate Śukadeva Gosvāmī.
yathā.
So that.
Eva. Indeed.
narakān.
All the hellish conditions. Into which the impious are put. Naraḥ. Human beings. Nānā. Varieties of. Ugra. Terrible. Yathā. Conditions of suffering. Neyāt. May not undergo. That. May. To me. Vyākhyātum arhasi. Please describe. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Listen carefully. O greatly fortunate and opulent Śukadeva Gosvāmī, now kindly tell me how human beings may be saved from having to enter hellish conditions in which they suffer terrible pains.
Should we give you the microphone, Maharaj?
Right?
You want the microphone? Yeah, okay.
Purport. In the 26th chapter of the 5th canto, Śukadeva Gosvāmī has explained that people who commit sinful acts are forced to enter hellish planets and suffer. Now Maharaj Parikshit, being a devotee, is concerned with how this can be stopped. A Vaishnava is paradukha. In other words, he has no personal troubles, but he is very unhappy to see others in trouble. Prahlad Maharaj said, "My Lord, I have no personal problems, for I have learned how to glorify your transcendental qualities and thus enter a trance of ecstasy. I do have a problem, however, for I am simply thinking of these rascals and fools who are busy with Maya Shuka, temporary happiness, without knowledge of devotional service unto you. This is the problem faced by a Vaishnava. Because a Vaishnava fully takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he personally has no problems. But because he is compassionate toward the fallen, conditioned souls, he is always thinking of plans to save them from their hellish life in this body and the next." Parikshit Maharaj therefore anxiously wanted to know from Śukadeva Gosvami how humanity can be saved from gliding down to hell. Śukadeva Gosvami had already explained how people enter hellish life, and he could also explain how they will be saved from it. Intelligent man must take advantage of these instructions. Unfortunately, however, the entire world is lacking Krishna consciousness, and therefore people are suffering from the grossest ignorance and do not even believe in a life after this one. To convince them of their next life is very difficult because they have become almost mad in their pursuit of material enjoyment. Nevertheless, our duty, the duty of all sane men, is to save them. Maharaj Parikshit is the representative of one who can save them. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta Purport, first chapter of the 6th canto, text number 6.
Om Jnānatimirandasya Jnānanjana Shalakya Chakshurmritanena Tasmai Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Bhaktamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kala. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasana Hare Krishna You can repeat after me the translation. O greatly fortunate and opulent Śukadeva Gosvami, kindly tell me how human beings may be saved from having to enter hellish conditions in which they suffer terrible pain. Isn't this a beautiful verse and purport? Yes? No? Too slow to respond. Every verse of the Bhagavatam is sweet like sugar candy. Sugar candy, you can buy it on the bottom, top, left, right, is sweet. Is that true? But some verses are more sweeter than others. So Parikshit Maharaj is a speaker of this verse, and he is addressing Śukadeva Gosvami. Who is Śukadeva Gosvami? Who is he? Son of Vyasadeva, who gave us the spotless knowledge. Igama kalpa garor kalitam phala. The ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge. That is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva had compiled the vast Vedic literature, and in spite of having compiled so much literature, he felt that there was something lacking in his effort. Something lacking in his effort. And as he was meditating, what could be lacking? Narada Muni appeared and guided him to exclusively present the path of pure emotional self. So Śukadeva Gosvami, in the 5th canto, has described the hellish planets. In a way, the present planet is also almost hellish. But some people still think this is a planet to enjoy. So in the Bhagavatam 5th canto, you read about the hellish planets. How many of you have read about the hellish planets? So with the hellish planets, this is not some fiction. Someone will say, oh, it's just imaginary. How can it be so bad? But it's not imaginary. Sometimes people think the Vedas are just present mythology. But it's not mythology, it's a reality. In the 5th canto you read how the laws of karma work. Karma is very severe. Nobody is karma free. In the material world there are products that are calorie free, sugar free. Am I right? But there's no such thing as karma free. The laws of material nature are very severe. And all our activities are being watched, micromanaged, micro-watched. In the 3rd canto, Devahuti asked her son, how is it decided whatever body one person is going to get? Who is witnessing all this? And Prabhupada used to tell us a story when Prabhupada was studying in Scottish College, Calcutta, because Scottish College, Calcutta was a very famous college which had professors from Scotland. This was during the British rule of India. So one British professor asked Prabhupada, you Hindus talk about reincarnation, but who is witnessing all our activities? Who is going to testify? So Prabhupada said, at that time we could not answer. So Devahuti asked the same question. How is it going to be decided what type of body one is going to get? So the Lord replied, Karma deva naisena jantu deva bhavate. All our activities are being watched by several witnesses. Just like in the material world, you only get convicted of crime if there's a witness. If there's no witness, real criminals escape. So, are there witnesses to all our activities? Yes or no? Yes. There are several witnesses. The sun and the moon and the stars, these are all the witnesses. The sun is watching everything, isn't it? The moon, the stars, the air god, the fire god, the rain god, all of them are witnessing everything. And everything gets recorded in a computer that will never crash or can never be hacked. In the middle world, now it's a hacking game going on. America tries to hack Russian data, China tries to hack American data, but this cannot be hacked or crashed. So the demigods are watching. And then, based on our actions, we get rewarded or punishment. There is heavenly planets and there are hellish planets. So the hellish planets are described in the 5th canto. For example, if one gets elected to a position of responsibility, he won the election, and he doesn't guide the population on the path of self-realization, what happens to him? He gets squeezed through a machine, like a sugarcane gets squeezed, and then he faints. People believe these days in free living, in free mixing, isn't it? That is what the liberal definition of society is. Complete freedom, live in, and so on. So what happens to them who don't follow the laws of God? They have to embrace a naked, rod-like form of the opposite sex, and it burns them completely. So Parikshit Maharaj, when he heard from Śukadeva Gosvāmī how people will have to enter into it and his planet, he became concerned. What was his concern? What was his concern? How can people be saved from entering the hellish planets? That is the nature of a devotee. Para-dukkha, dukhi. Seeing others in distress, you become distressed. So in this verse, Śukadeva Gosvāmī is being approached by Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj said, you have described in the 5th canto the hellish planet, but now please describe how people can escape entering the hellish planet. And Prabhupada's entire purport is devoted to the theme, what a Vaishnava should be. Somebody may say, but I am not a Vaishnava, I cannot be a Vaishnava. We are here because our goal is to become Vaishnava. So Parikshit Maharaj's inquiry was, how can people be saved from going to hellish planets? Someone may say, what do I care? If the other guy is going to go to hellish planets, good for him. Bad for him, what do I care? But the Vaishnava cares. He thinks, how can people be saved? That was the mood of the Lord. In the 18th chapter, Krishna says, of all the devotees who are most dear to me, the ones who preach my glories. Krishna emphasizes, preaching is very important. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, incarnation of the Supreme Lord, also injected the same mood. What did the Lord say? Jai Dakotaya Kaho, whoever is he, please to the Lord Krishna. And you read this wonderful story. One day, Lord Chaitanya called Nityananda and Haridas. He said, listen Nityananda, listen Haridas, how will these Yavanas be saved? So he ordered them, go to every house, every individual, and with a straw in their mouth, request them. What? Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Guru Krishna Krishna. Please chant the holy name, follow Krishna. Bhaja Krishna, worship Krishna. And follow Krishna, follow Krishna's son. And give Krishna's message. Where is Krishna's message? In the Bhagavad Gita. So, Advaitacharya, I'm sorry, Haridas and Lord Nityananda, they knew who the Supreme Lord was. They said, let us find out who is the most fallen personality in this area. So they did a survey. Who is the most fallen? And everyone said, there are two brothers here. They were born in a Brahmanical family. They came from a very good family. But they've fallen in bad association and now become drunkards, woman addicts, and there's no sin that they have not committed. So they thought, if by some miracle we can purify these two brothers, the whole town will say, what a wonder Lord Chaitanya has done. The whole town will sing the Lord's glories. So with this in mind, they proceeded to preach to Jagai and Madai. It's funny, recently they had elections in India and Prime Minister Modi was campaigning in Bengal. So in his speech he said, if we come to power, we'll clean up all the Jagai Madais. So what we like this, he referred to Jagai Madai twice in his campaign. If we come to power, we'll clean up all the Jagai Madais. The Jagai Madais were cleaned up by Lord Chaitanya. So anyway, they approached these two brothers. Please chant the name of Krishna, worship Krishna and follow his instruction. And these two drunkards said, who are you? You've come to teach us. And they chased them away. They were ready to beat them. But Jagai Madai, they had big bellies. They used to drink a lot. So they Haridas and Nityananda had to run for their life. So when the local people saw them running, they said, good! We told them not to approach these two brothers. They won't spare anyone alive. And they ventured to preach to them. Good, they got what they deserved. So they went back to Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya said, so what is the preaching report? Prabhupada would often tell us. So today, what was the preaching result? So Nityananda Haridas said, we went and preached to the two most sinful people of our town. They named them Jagai Madai. These two brothers are drunkard. They rob everyone. Don't let anyone go to any ritual program. When they would see anyone going to satsang, Jagai Madai, they would throw stones. Hey, don't go for kirtan. Don't worship the Lord. So Jagai Madai, so Nityananda Haridas were giving a report to Lord Chaitanya. And when we told them to chant the name of Krishna, they came to kill us. We had to run for our lives. We're lucky that we got saved. So Lord Chaitanya said, go back and preach to them again. Don't worry. In accordance with the Lord's order, they came back to preach. Who? Nityananda and Haridas. They approached these two brothers again. Sir, please Chant the holy name. Don't waste your life like the animals. And when they heard this preaching, Madai, there were two, Jagai Madai was so upset. He took a stone and threw it on Nityananda's forehead. Then immediately started to bleed. As soon as that happened, Lord Chaitanya, who is none else but the Supreme Lord, rushed over there with the Sudarshan Chakra, ready to annihilate these two drunkard brothers. But Lord Nityananda stopped them. What did he say? Sir, this is just a small sample of what you can expect in Kali Yuga. This is just a small sample. And when Madai saw that here was Lord Nityananda, he hit him with a powerful stone that made him bleed. And here he is, stopping the Lord from punishing him. His heart began to melt. And he fell at the feet of Lord Nityananda. Please excuse me. And then Nityananda, he formed Haridasa and two brothers, Nityananda and Haridasa. So, Lord Chaitanya is described as the most merciful of all incarnations. So a devotee is always thinking, how can I save others? Srila Prabhupada at the age of 70 came to the West with just 40 rupees in his pocket. Virtually everyone he spoke to said, don't go, don't make this trip. You are too old to make this trip. But he persisted. Why? Well, he wanted to save the fallen people of Kali Yuga. So, Śukadeva Gosvāmī is being requested by Parikshit Maharaj, please describe how these people can be saved from going to the hellish penance. The compassionate, a devotee is compassionate. What does it mean to be compassionate? There is material compassion and there is spiritual compassion. Very often, when people see us preaching, especially in India, what is the use of making compassion? Spiritual compassion is real compassion. Spiritual compassion is giving people knowledge by which they can become free from the cycle of birth and death. That is real compassion. That is the compassion that Vaishnavas must have. We are not against material compassion. We do prasad distribution. In Seattle they have a nice truck that goes and does free prasad distribution. Prabhupada says, no one within 8 miles of an ISKCON temple should go hungry. He wanted everyone to be fed, but fed with Krishna Prasad, so that if they eat, they'll not only fill their belly, they'll also get purified. Krishna says, one who eats without offering to me is eating only what? Only sin. So our goal is eat and distribute Krishna Prasad. So Parikshit Maharaj, being a genuine devotee, he is asking, how can people be saved from going to hellish penance? We should not think that, oh, that description is there, but it's too utopian. It may not be reality. The laws of karma are very strict. And we all have to get the reaction to our activities that are vikarmic. Vikarmic activities means activities against the laws of God. In the 5th canto, you read about Lord Rishadeva's instructions. Lord Rishadev had 100 sons. He was a son of King Navi and Merudevi. The parents were performing a great yajna. They had a desire to have a son like God. God was very pleased by the sacrifice. And the Lord said, if you want a son like me, that's impossible. Because no one can be like me. But if you desire, I will become your son. And he became what? The son. So Rishabdev means in Sanskrit, the best. So Lord Rishabdev says, Nunam Brahmata Kurute Vikarma. One who engages in vikarmic activities. Vikarmic activities means, what does it mean? What does vikarmic activity mean? Activities against the laws of God. Activities against the laws of God are vikarmic. Akarmic is activities strictly in accordance with the laws of God, for which there is no reaction. Just like you may be doing a temple construction. When you're doing a temple construction, there is no denial. So many entities may be killed when you're digging, doing arhasi work. But because that is being done for the pleasure of the Lord, you don't get any reaction. So, akarma is activities strictly in accordance with the laws of God. Vikarma is activities against the laws of God. So Lord Rishabdev said, Nunam Pramata Kurite Vikarma. Those who engage in vikarmic activities are simply mad, pramata. Pramata means crazy, mad. So you may say, why does the Lord say I'm mad? Why? Who knows?
They don't know their self-interest.
Because they have a body presently which is giving them nothing but pain. And by having vikarmic activities, they again have a body which will give them nothing but pain. Yesterday I had gone with Manu Das to meet one of our old members who was in a VIP old age home. There are different types of old age homes. Some are run by the government, and even within the government they have different categories. This is a private nursing home, and super VIP costs as much to live there as it costs in a hotel. But so we saw it was a super VIP nursing home. But the people inside are probably all millionaires, because to live there you have to be a millionaire. But they were all suffering. Old. Nobody was taking care of them. Their best friend was the television. Where no one's there to talk. All they were doing is watching TV and movies all day. So we may accumulate wealth, we may accumulate power, but a point comes when you're so miserable. So it doesn't matter how much possession you have, this cannot buy you real peace. If you really want to see how people are suffering, go to any old age home, go to any hospital, You don't see how much suffering is. And this suffering is going to strike everyone. So Lord Rishabdev said, my dear sons, don't engage in activities against the laws of God, because you presently have a body that's giving you nothing but pain. So this body of which you are very proud. Are you proud of our bodies? Yeah. How many times a day do we go in front of the mirror? How many times? Okay. Some go in front of the mirror more than others. The men go less than the ladies, but you all go in front of the mirror. Why? You want to see, is my beauty increasing or decreasing? There's a true story. There was once a very miserly landlord. He had a building in Florida, and he was Jewish. Jewish people are quite miserly. So he didn't want to. He had a building with an old lift, which would move very slowly. And the tenants would always say, come on, change our lift. So he didn't want to spend that fortune. So he consulted his friend. His friend said, do you have a mirror in your lift? He said, no. He said, put a life-size mirror on three sides of the lift. He put a life-size mirror on three sides of the lift. And he saw people started complaining. They would go inside the lift, just stand in front of the mirror, and they wouldn't even realize that they would reach their destination. So we all would like to believe how beautiful this body is. We're constantly watching. In the Bible there's a statement, Prabhupada used to quote this also. Thus thy art, and thus thou shalt become. So the material body that we are glorifying, decorating, some perfumes. Have you ever handled a perfume bottle? The packaging is so big. It's so beautiful, these French perfumes. But by the time you open the different layers and get to the bottle, it's tiny. Is that right? The packing makes it look 4 times bigger. But by the time you reach a substance, you only have a few drops. So we use all these perfumes, etc. This body is dust. Dust thy art, dust thou shalt become. And Prabhupada explained, doesn't matter what your faith is. The Hindus, for example, burn the body. But when you burn the body, ultimately it becomes dust. The Christians, for example, bury the body. And as you may know, burial is a big business in this part of the world. They say that you may have a recession, but in the funeral business there's no recession, where people always die. So you may have an expensive burial, but still that gets eaten by ants. So this body is nothing but dust. Dust it is, and dust it shall become. So we are not saying don't cater to the body. What we are saying that we should cater to using the body in service to the Lord. When the body is used in service to the Lord, that is perfection. And when the body is used independent of service to the Lord, that is a failure. So Lord Rishabdev was saying, this body which you have is giving you nothing but misery. So don't misuse this body. So to summarize, Parikshit Maharaj, having heard in the 5th canto, the description of the hellish planets is pleading with Śukadeva Gosvami. Please describe. He's not saying, okay, Śukadeva Gosvami, let people go to hell, what do we care? At least I'm saved. He said, no, please describe how people can be saved from going to the hellish planet. That's the nature of a Vaishnava. Thousands of years ago, the sages were all assembled in Namashranya. Namashranya is a location in northern India where since times immemorial you've been having transcendental discussion. And there were thousands of sages present. And they were discussing. What were they discussing? How can people in Kali Yuga be saved? And because they were spiritual astrologers, they could see that thousands of years down the road, people will be quarrelsome, unlucky, lazy, misguided. So the devotees of the Lord, following in the footsteps of the great sages, also meditate, how can we save others? So this activity of preaching, which is through the medium of Harinam or book distribution, is a step in the right direction. Prabhupada gave us these programs. Why? Only because through these activities one can be saved from going to hell. When you go on Harinam and people hear the holy name, they get immense benefit. This chanting of the holy name is so important. Knowing we are unknowingly, anyone who hears, he benefits. There's actually a book distribution. We should all take part in it, because when people get these books, read even one shloka, they can perfect their life. So these activities, Prabhupada has given us many weapons. We need to use the weapons for our own protection and for protecting others. So to summarize this verse, Parikshit Maharaj is inquiring, how can people be saved from going where?
Hell.
Hellish planet. How many of you want to save people from going to hellish planets? How many of you don't care? Let people go to hell, what do we care? I'm safe in Vancouver. So if you don't want people to go to hell, what do you have to do? What do we have to do? Preach! Not fall asleep. Preach! If you preach, the Lord has become indebted to you. Krishna becomes indebted to one who endeavors to preach his glories, either by Harinam or book distribution. Krishna says, this devotee went through all the turbulence to preach my glories. He has purchased me. And if somebody is lazy, he doesn't want to go. Krishna says, this devotee had a chance to become glorious, but he did not take advantage of it. So take advantage of the opportunity to preach, go on Harinam. When there's Harinam, we should all take part in it. When there's book distribution, we should all take part. And by doing these activities, we'll make spiritual advancement. So we should cultivate the mood that is being exemplified in this verse by Parikshit Maharaj. And we never, Krishna Maharaj. So everyone's ready for that? Very soft Haribol. Ready for that? Really? Is the video camera recording that? We can show it to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Any questions? No questions? Yes.
Maharaj, recently had a challenge. One couple, very compassionate Caucasian lady. She's vegetarian and nature loving and very kind in her family, and she's married to a moderate Irani gentleman, a very big business tycoon, who allows her to, manage her own religious following. But in exchange with her, so I asked her, that you realize that at the end, death will do us apart. And she said, yes, death will do us apart. So I said, then you have so many nice qualities you should consider, then what's after this life? And try and inquire, from your heart, where is the source of where you're heading next? So then she said, I am spiritual. And I said, okay. And she said, I'm finding spirituality in nature. And because I have an Irani person next to me, I didn't want to take her into too much personalism because she has to manage that relationship with her husband as well. So how do you kind of tactfully address this one?
When somebody says, I see spirituality in nature.
And
a lot of people see spirituality in nature. That means they like nature, like there is the Green movement, and in British Columbia, the Green Party is in power, with sharing the power. So, what is the Green Party's manifesto? I haven't read it, but I'm just guessing. The Green Party's manifesto should be environmental friendly. But that is still mundane. We appreciate. On the other hand, we have someone like Mr. Trump who says, nothing to do, don't worry about the environment, everything's okay. And on the other hand, you have the scientists predicting the world is heading for disaster. The glaciers everywhere are melting. So people have a mundane concept of trying to save nature. But they want to save nature so that they can go on with their sense enjoyment. Why is the whole world alarmed about global warming, etc.? Not because of spiritual reasons, because if the globe pollution goes up, if the environment gets polluted, then they can't have sense enjoyment. They'll have bad health. And bad health means even to indulge in sense enjoyment, you need good health. But that is still mundane. There's not much spiritual in it.
But how can you penetrate their thought that at least they should...
Well, you have to penetrate their thought by making them realize that ultimately you have to follow what the laws of God are. We have to make them realize. Ultimately we should do what the scriptures say.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Once, Prabhupada was giving a lecture in Rishikesh, and Prabhupada, as you know, would sometimes speak very strongly, using rascal, idiots. Even Krishna uses the word rascal. So there was an American lady in the audience. She said, Swamiji, sadhu should not speak so strongly. So Prabhupada said, when you have a boil with pus inside, do you blow over that boil, or do you spread the boil to get the pus out? What do you do? Press the boil to get the pus out. So sometimes you have to speak strongly, like a lion. Okay, more questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for being with us. I'm curious about when a person, what makes a person actually take on fully the Krishna consciousness and the chanting and all that, because sometimes a person would say it is the karma of that person to become a devotee, or is it the mercy of the Lord from within the heart, or is it
And he has bad karma, so therefore he's not becoming a devotee. I mean, I'm just extending what you have said. Someone may say, good karma, he became a devotee. And someone may say, he has bad karma, therefore he is not becoming a devotee. Is that what he was leading to?
Yeah, because sometimes we notice that there are certain individuals that come to the temple for many, many years, but they never really take on the chanting. They come, they take prasad, or they go away, or sometimes a devotee, when a person would just visit, read Prabhupada's books, and then just fully take on. So just, is it, what really makes that person?
It's a combination of different ingredients. One ingredient is karma, and the other is proper utilization of free will. Sometimes you have good karma, just like the children who are being born in Krishna conscious families. In one way they have good karma. They are born in an environment from a young age. They never had meat and this and that. They are hearing the holy name. So they have some element of pious karma. And the adults come to Krishna consciousness. There's a combination of good karma and proper utilization of your free will. Both. And sometimes our karma is we're so impious, it doesn't matter what you try, you don't come to spiritual life. But a Vaishnava endeavors to purify even the most sinful. And we have a classic example, Lord Chaitanya. He sent Nityananda, go back and preach to those who are drunkards. You follow? Like when we go on Harinam, we do Harinam to everyone. We don't try and discriminate. When you go on book distribution, we approach everyone. We don't necessarily look for someone who is pious. Okay, good question. More questions?
Yes, myself. Most of the people are trying to spend money on themselves rather than Krishna, especially in the old age, without realizing that its body is useless, as we were discussing yesterday. I feel how we can touch the hearts of these people, those who are leaving the body, and enlighten them at this last minute of their lives.
We have to preach and sincerely try to preach. Purity is the force. If we are sincerely trying, that's all that we can do. We can just try our best. Everything is not in our control. But one thing is in our control, the effort. The effort's in our control. We make an effort. And we have seen in those parts of the world where the leaders are very preaching oriented, the preaching develops nicely. And where the leaders are lazy, the preaching is also lazy. You follow? So the effort is in our hands. We can't blame everything on karma and take a back seat. Okay?
Thank you.
More questions? Yes. Bye. The ladies are asking more questions than the men. They have better preaching. Yeah.
Gurumaharaj, I was wondering, how would you talk to an agnostic person, like a person who doesn't, who believes there's a higher entity but doesn't?
I'm sorry. Say the last line.
How can you talk to an
Gurumaharaj, I was wondering, how would you
Talk to an agnostic person.
tell them that, how do you explain to them that Krishna is the one, right? That's the form of the higher entity that they believe in.
Well, you don't have to mention the word Krishna. Let's say you may be talking to a Westerner, so you can tell him about God. That everything is controlled by God. You have a police commissioner regulating the traffic in the city. So there is somebody regulating the whole show. You say there is no God, but how can the show go on without God? And then gradually introduce him to Krishna. Krishna, you're covering on the speaker. So you have to, in preaching you have to use your intelligence. There's no one mantra that you say that mantra to everyone. It's going to vary from person to person. But if the desire is there to preach, then Krishna makes you an instrument.